Hi, I'm Caroline, and I've created a lot of things, but mostly I've created a life I love. Join me on my journey as a podcaster, business owner, and mom as I try to create all the things. Welcome to the Caroline Creates podcast. Hey guys, today we are going to talk about feeds. Oh wow, this sounds dry. But I thought it would be important to go through because I get asked a lot about a podcast feed and what it looks like. So, okay, what is a feed? So I want to clarify one common myth about podcast episodes and feeds. You are not actually directly uploading your audio to iTunes. This typically boggles people's minds because they think that part of getting a podcast out every week is uploading that file to all of these places, and that's just not true. So what you want to do when you have a podcast is have an RSS feed host. And an RSS feed host is basically a host that's going to create a text-based version of all of your podcast information. So think of it like an RSS reader for a blog. It's kind of the same thing. So it's a hub where you're going to upload your episodes, your cover art, your show notes, everything. And then it literally creates like a text-based version of this. A lot of people think that they want to have an RSS feed host on their website so they don't have to pay for a hosting service. And it's really not a great idea. First of all, there are so many things that are required of the various readers. So like Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, all these places have kind of their own requirements and parameters, and you want to make sure that you have those set up properly. This is especially with iTunes, like you want to make sure that you have all of those proper tags, and an RSS feed host is going to give you that. The other thing that an RSS feed host is going to give you is storage. These files take up space, and you probably don't pay for as much space as you're going to need on your website server host. So having an RSS feed host is kind of invaluable in that sense. It really helps you save space. It is an expense every month, but it's not a huge one. I think I pay $20, $25 a month. It's really no big deal to have that podcast hosted. Now, the other thing that I really love about having a podcast host is having somebody in my corner. So if I'm having trouble with my feed or an episode isn't showing up correctly, I can email my host and say, hey, what's going on? And they can help me troubleshoot, which is really a great thing. So the RSS feed host that I love the most is Libsyn. Everybody kind of has their personal favorites, but I am one of those people where I feel like I should stay with a tried and true, somebody who's been around for a really long time. And that is definitely Libsyn. They know what they're doing. They do a really good job. They take really good care of me. All of my clients are on Libsyn, and that's who I recommend. They've been around since the beginning of podcasts. They're not going anywhere. I think I would be wary of any of these new feed hosts that are kind of popping up, who are trying to entice you with really pretty graphics and things like that. What's important is functionality, and functionality that is correct. So that's why I love Libsyn. So let's go back to this whole feed situation. Obviously, like if this were a video, I would totally show you what a feed looks like. So your feed is this text-based thing, and it's a URL. So what you do to get your podcast on these various places is you actually submit that URL, that RSS feed, to all of these places. It's really kind of fascinating to think about. So they're not actually downloading your files, they're not actually downloading your cover art. They have bots that are reading the feed and putting that information where it needs to go in the various players. So it really is important that that feed is correctly set up and correctly done. And there are a lot of articles online you can find to help you walk you through this. Usually your RSS feed host will have something that'll help walk you through it as well. I find that this is where people tend to get the most tripped up in the launch process. It's really overwhelming to go onto the site and know where you need to put all of the information. And I just want to encourage you to not be afraid. And the cool thing about it is you can change anything at any point. So when you create that feed, like, it's not set in stone. You can turn around and change your description, change your categories, everything. Anytime you do make a change to your feed, I am going to recommend that you go into iTunes, the Podcast Connect, which is where you go to submit your feed, and click refresh your feed. And that's just going to help the bot readers kind of go, hey, let's read this one a little quicker than the others and help any changes show up. Changes can take 24 to 48 hours to show up. In my experience, it's usually a day, although lately I've been having a little bit of a problem with that. So anyways, and there's also like iTunes support you can contact. So I've been emailing them all week. It's been really fun, but they got it fixed. So we're good. So if you are listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, thank you, Caroline, for explaining what a feed is, but holy moly, I am still terrified by this whole prospect of having to do this, I kind of have two options for you. So the first one is I do have a service where I help you set up your feed and get your feed going. It's called the Podcast Launch Guide, and you get to work with me one-on-one, and I basically walk you through the process, send you everything you need to fill out all the information. I set up the feed for you, help you get that first episode ready to go, and I even will make videos for you to show you how to upload episodes, etc. Now, if you feel like that's a little unattainable, I am super excited to announce that coming in August, I am going to be launching my mini podcast launch guide e-course. This is a small little e-course that's going to walk you through how to get your podcast launched. And one of the things it is going to include is how to set up your feed. So if you are interested in that, I would totally recommend that you sign up for my newsletter, and you can do that by going to www.carolinecreates.com. I really hope this helped dispel some of the myths around feeds and helped you to understand what a podcast feed is. And I will be with you all again next week. Before you go, please head to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. I would love to hear from you. And to learn more about me and follow along my journey, head to www.carolinecreates.com. There you can also listen to episodes, watch YouTube videos, and find out more about my podcasting services. Thanks so much. Have a great day.